leave them both, because I'm so important.
Look really important.
Yeah, exactly. So we will call the regularly scheduled meeting of the Calaveras County Planning Commission to order and get started with a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any staff announcements or agenda changes? There are none. Thank you. And we have, well, is there anyone who would like to speak on an item not on the agenda today?
Not me.
And we have none online, so we will move on to the next item, the consent agenda, consisting of the approval of the minutes from December 9th and resolution for allowing continuing remote access to our meetings. Is there any member of the public or commission who would like to remove an item from the consent agenda for discussion?
On the agenda 2202, the COVID Zoom, that's revisited every 30 days is what I understand. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. That's the only question I had.
So,
Make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
do we have a second?
I think Dawn seconded.
Yes, I did.
Thank you, Dawn. So,
You're welcome.
I think we need to do roll call votes given the situation. So, Commissioner Parker,
Here.
or aye.
Aye, sorry. I'm sick.
Commissioner Laddish.
Did you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Commissioner Laddish.
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson.
Aye. Aye.
And Commissioner Plotnick, aye. So consent agenda passes 5-0. And, oh my, and on to the regular agenda and the selection of chair and vice chair.
We did the minutes?
We did the minutes as part of the consent agenda.
Okay. Yeah.
Is there someone who would like to,
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Commissioner Henderson to be the chair for next year, or for this year.
Commissioner Henderson, are you willing?
Yeah.
Okay. Then I would second that. And we need a vice chair.
Well, don't keep on here. I'd like to nominate Commissioner Plotnick to be the vice chair as kind of the advisor, emeritus.
Okay. So, is there any further discussion on that or suggestions? Okay. Then let's go ahead and take a roll call vote. Commissioner Parker?
Aye.
Commissioner Laddish?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye. Aye.
Rooster? And Commissioner Plotnick, aye, passes 5-0. And we will get started on item number 2, 2021-058, appeal of 2021-044 for Jonathan Cloward. Is there anything that staff would like to add to this?
Morning, Tim Pitt, Planner 2. Just kind of a refresher on what we did. During the December 9th meeting, the Planning Commission, the staff brought forward the appeal by Jonathan Cloward appealing the planning director's decision to deny a front building setback variance, which would have changed his setback from 20 feet to 15 feet. During the discussion of the item, when the commission was polled, it was determined by a majority of the commission that they were able to meet the findings necessary for approval of the variance, and therefore would be overturning the planning director's denial. At that time, the commission asked staff to create a resolution granting Mr. Cloward's appeal and approving the variance. The resolution before you today is the document that staff created, meeting the findings required to grant the variance based on discussion from the December 9th Planning Commission meeting. Does anybody have any questions about the project itself from December 9th or need any refreshers? If not, resolution is in front of you guys. Take comments, questions.
I just have a quick question for Julie. I believe we continued this item, so there is no need for additional public comment.
I mean, I think that if this is a continued public hearing, which I think I do remember it being like that, they've already, the public comment portion of the hearing was closed. And so even though it was noticed as a public hearing, I think we could treat it as a continued public hearing, and I don't think that you're obligated to reopen it for this item-specific public comment, no.
Thank you. Does anybody have any comments before?
Well, I'd like to commend the staff for being able to follow the comments and suggestions of the commission, even though the staff didn't agree with the majority of the commission. I think they've done a good job on the resolution.
I have one suggestion on the resolution.
Sure.
That's the 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth whereas clause. At the very last part, it refers to public testimony presented in writing at the meeting. I think the public testimony was via Zoom, and according to the minutes we just approved, that's correct. So I would just strike those two words, "in writing," to make it accurate.
Good catch. Thank you. Is there anything else before we ask for a motion?
Yeah, I was going to say, would we like to ask Mr. Cloward if he has any suggestions or whether he agrees with the resolution or if he's got any concerns?
Have you
Jonathan?
seen the resolution? Go ahead and come on up.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Seems only fitting that we have a second date after the amount of time we spent together last time, so I'm glad this all worked out. Going through the conditions, it seems to me like everything makes sense. Some of the stuff is in language that I don't understand, and there's only certain conditions where the county codes are attached to it and some aren't. So I didn't necessarily know where to research, so I just would like to understand what exactly the conditions mean.
So do you have a specific question for staff on a condition?
Yes, I would like to know what the conditions mean. That's all. I was able to talk to Gina on the phone, and it looks like the item on 1-4, there's a validation process for the variance. I wasn't aware of how that worked, so it sounds like I have to have a construction permit pulled by that specific date in order for this variance to be validated. Is that
Yeah, the validation's pretty simple. Since this particular matter is reliant upon construction, that simple validation can be nothing more than the issuance of a building permit. So that doesn't mean that you have to have the house complete by this date. It just means that we have to issue the permit.
Okay, so the permit has to be issued before December 31st to validate the variance.
Yes, and that's December 31st of 2023, so that's next year. So you have essentially almost 2 years to complete, or at least to submit plans and pull your permit.
Okay, and then we had discussed, you and I had discussed items 1-2 and 1-3 over the phone, just to make sure I'm clear, based off of our discussion. Because this plan is a footprint, not an engineered plan, those two items are not restricting the changing of interior walls, having to move something, changing the way a front garage looks.
Correct.
Go ahead.
The issue that we would have is a scenario that might change the overall footprint of the exterior of the building. So in other words, if you submit a plan that is substantially different than what we've approved, and in fact, it is creating an additional impact, it's asking to go further into a setback, then that would not be approved. If there is something that is slightly, maybe a sidewall that is otherwise not considered in this variance, right now you don't have an issue, if it's slightly moving, as long as it's not encroaching into a setback, there is no issue. But the main concern is that the plan that you submitted is the plan that was approved. So again, it has to be, substantially within the same approval footprint as the plan that we initially approved. So if you're going to submit something that's totally different, that's not going to be acceptable.
Right.
Interior walls don't matter to us. We don't care what the inside of the house looks like. We were only addressing issues concerned with the footprint of the structure.
Got it. So even minor changes to exterior walls, as long as I'm not encroaching the setback,
If you're not asking to further encroach into a setback,
those changes are fine.
because you've got some additional space in the back, if you find that you want to add a little square footage, maybe enclose one of those
Got it.
porches or something that was not previously enclosed, that's not going to be an issue. It's the encroachment that is what is improved.
Got it. Understood. Other than that, everything's great.
Okay, thank you. Would someone like to make a motion?
I'd like to move that we adopt the resolution as currently proposed.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you.
Well, as corrected by Commissioner Wooster.
As amended.
Recommended.
Yes.
I'm sorry, who was the first and second? I got thrown off there.
The first was Commissioner Laddish and the second Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Parker? Aye or nay?
Aye.
Commissioner Laddish?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Wooster?
No.
Commissioner Plotnick, no. But the resolution, overturning of the denial and approval of the appeal has passed on a 3-2 vote.
And this matter is appealable to the Board of Supervisors within 15 calendar days.
And there are no informational items today. Are there any commissioner reports?
Well, I'd like to commend Commissioner Parker for dredging himself to a semi-upright position and attending the meeting today. Heroism in public service is always to be commended.
Thank you, Commissioner Parker. I was quite concerned about it last night and bugging Annette. So, thank you very much. Anyone else? All right. Is there a planning director report?
No, actually, not really anything to report. Everyone's just working hard, keeping things moving forward. That's pretty much it.
I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
I was wondering if we are doing anything to update our ordinances to reflect the state's changes to the ADUs, junior ADUs, and then the allowance of 2 residences on a single family parcel.
So any changes in code, any changes via, state regulation will get rolled into the new zoning code as we are proceeding with those updates. So the consultant is aware of all the new regulation, and you will see that reflected in the new code. In the meantime, Julie and I have basically, read through and vetted the new regulations as they come about and make a determination as to whether or not they apply to Calaveras County or not, and we're just basically adhering to them as, as needed.
Yeah, so I have lots of questions about that because there are exceptions for areas in high wildfire danger not needing to recognize those new, so is that?
I believe would that be Senate Bill 10? Yeah.
Yeah, that,
I reviewed those yesterday, and I have not sat down with Julie yet. I don't believe that those actually apply to Calaveras County because of the high and very high severity fire zones. But I will be confirming that interpretation with Julie in the near future. And so far, we haven't gotten any inquiries specific to SB 10. So, we're talking about it at a staff level, and we'll be confirming that interpretation with Julie shortly.
and maybe educating us about it.
Sure, I can send out an email just so all of you are aware as well. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
It does bring up a lot of questions, because I was thinking, especially here in the rural areas, we have engineered septic systems and that sort of thing. How's that all going to come into play, and captivity of that sort of thing?
Yeah, definitely that poses some challenges, I think, for us up in these, rural communities. It's not quite the same, but there are specifics, where, some of these new regulations only apply to certain areas that are defined as, urbanized areas. We are likely not to qualify under those definitions. There's some suggestion that perhaps maybe certain areas of Calaveras County, based on their population, might qualify, but again, I've got some notes jotted down, and we will go ahead and sit down with Julie and have her confirm whether or not, those actually do apply. I'm assuming you're talking about the SB 9
Yeah.
new
Right. And they do have a
regulation.
lot of specifics about utilities and all, but
Yeah.
the wildfire thing seemed like the biggest impediment. And
Exactly, yeah. And I didn't note that language in the Senate Bill 9, but I did note it in the Senate Bill 10 regulation. So it appears that it's not considered in the one, but is in the other. So we'll take another hard look at it. Like I said, we're kind of reviewing it at a staff level, and we will very soon be getting together with you to confirm. So I'll send you guys an email to let you know what we've determined.
And then I'm wondering if there's any chance we can get a dark sky ordinance done ahead of the rest of the zoning ordinance, because it's been hanging around for so many years.
Yeah, I'm that's going to be up to the new director whether or not they want to take those forward. I think there are a few things, such as maybe short-term vacation rentals and special events, that we may want to consider to pull out of the ordinance and take those separately, just so we don't, we kind of anticipate that those are going to be kind of high-volume items. People are going to maybe find more controversy with those two particular topics rather than the rest of the code. So we want to just be able to run the whole code through at the same time, but there will be those things that we will consider, at least the board will consider whether or not we're going to, pull them out and run them separately. I would like to just include the dark sky ordinance along with the entire ordinance update. So I'm anticipating as soon as we get a new director on board that, we're going to be able to quickly pick up the pace of that process and get back on track again. It's been kind of a difficult year with our staffing situation.
Okay, thank you.
I have a very mundane question. Do you anticipate having a meeting on the fourth Thursday of February?
We do not.
So no additional
The answer
meeting
was
this
no,
month.
we do not.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything else? Then I will adjourn this meeting and look forward to Commissioner Henderson taking care of our March meeting.
Great.
Congratulations.
At least I was here for this one.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Hope you feel better,
I
Dawn.
hope you feel better.
All right, thanks everybody.
Take care.
See ya.
Good luck.